So what we'd like to do is start with Hershell West, who's one of the co-founders of the Art of Living Black, one of the inspirational key factors here. And he hung the show. So what Hershell would like to do is say a few words about your involvement and what inspired you to hang the work the way that you did. And then we're going to take whichever artists are here today and follow them around the art gallery and have each one of them talk a bit about their work.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank Ray Hayward for her, planning and organizing and just being the key person in this entire event from the start. 11 years ago, it's hard to imagine, but I remember the first exhibition here we did. We curated it here in the community gallery. And I remember Jan Hart-Skyers, the co-founder of Art of Living Black, April Watkins, and myself. Basically, we had an opportunity to present this show here at the Richmond Art Center. And I see faces that were there on that very first show. And I remember that night particularly because we were all excited about, having an opportunity to do this. And it was new to the area. And so when Ray called me, I believe it was during the holiday, Christmas holiday, and told me that she needed some help with the installation of this year's show. I thought right away, well, Ray, count me in, and it was a pleasure. And there were some names on the list. Dwayne Conliff, my good friend, he was a part of the installation crew, along with Courageous, who's over here. And Stephen, Ray's husband, came in, and of course Jason Austin was here. And so it was more than Hershell that installed the show. But when I got this call to help out here, I was more than thrilled. And of course I knew that the show had been here in this center for 11 years. And I knew that every year that I've seen the show, have participated in the show, it was a quality show, and the work speaks for itself. And I knew that there was going to be a wide range of artists here. I knew there was going to be artists with different skill levels here. And of course, when you're thinking about conceptualizing an exhibition, the primary thought is space. And how do you sort of create movement and rhythm and harmony with a lot of different art voices? And every one of these images spoke to me with a particular unique voice, and realizing that a group show, if you don't bring some order out of this sort of chaotic noises that can happen, you're in trouble. And I wanted to do justice to all the many different voices that was here in the show. It's almost, for me, it was like a painting project. You don't know what you got until you make the first mark on the canvas. And when we had all the works here, and everything was in bubble wrap or wrapping and stuff, and I said, well, let's just put it out and see what we got. And when we put it out, then the process of what to do became apparent. First of all, of course, we had the feature artists, which was, pretty much a given. Each year there are feature artists, selected by a jury panel of artists that are participating in the show. And the feature artists are artists that have, this year it was a given number of, 10 works came in. Dwayne and I made a decision we were going to pare that down to 6. We knew what was also a given, that the feature artists were going to have a wall, pretty much, not sharing a wall with any other artists. So that was our first sort of thought, to sort of get that lined up and put in a place. We know that there was going to be floor pieces. And, we wanted to sort of keep the floor pieces as a sort of last decision process, because that for me was what was going to get us in and what was going to sort of, put the space in some type of system where people could move freely in and about the pieces, also explore what was on the floor. My second thought, when we finally got everything unwrapped and sort of placed on the floor, was to decide, okay, what type of mediums we have, what type of techniques was involved, what were the skill level sets that the artist was bringing about, what was the presentation format of the works. So we had 4 basic categories that we sort of made our decision upon. Once we got that out, it was how to arrange and space the work so we got a flow. And if you're dealing with design, you know, you're dealing with, you know, elements about, you know, first of all, space, depth, and direction. So the idea was to create a sort of movement through space, which was what is going to sort of contribute to a sort of indirect, subtle, subconscious sort of flow and movement of the artist when they enter the space. And so basically that was the thinking that went behind placing the works in the show. And because there was such a huge number of works in the space, we also wanted to create some impact pieces. So when you come into the space, we wanted to make sure that certain things were seen right away. You know, and for me, that was just like, you're welcome, come in. And so everything in this show is basically designed from an audience perspective. Basically, you know, I was inspired, of course, by the subject matter and content of the works as well. So when you're in this show, again, you got a sense that, well, the feature artists are going to be in a group. Even with that, there was some planning about placement of the works. You know, central pieces were located first. What would be the central piece on a wall? 6. And then with 6 pieces, you know, we went to a stacking format because we realized that because of the enormity of the work that was present, that we was going to have to stack certain pieces. However, that was like, if we could not have to stack, we wouldn't. But having to stack some, we also wanted to create a sort of balance and a sort of rhythm with that process as well. So having decided that and the placement of the works, then it became, you know, formatting of the works themselves. And again, because this is a group show, and because there are various styles, techniques, skill levels that was involved, we wanted everyone that we placed in a group to be about equal in terms of presentation, subject matter, and the sort of visual quality of the work. And basically that is the principle that, that guided the installation process. And again, as you work as a painter, as I do, as a two-dimensional person, you allow for certain things to happen during the process of creating. And so Dwayne and I, we allowed for certain things to sort of happen. We could sort of get an overall sense of the design after we had talked about it. But then when we put stuff on the wall, of course, we said, well, maybe if we shifted this here and moved that there, staying within the guidelines that we had established, then things would work fine. And with the pieces on the floor, which was the last thing that we did, because we had some pieces that in previous years have been presented in a sort of encased format, we wanted to sort of to give within the sort of defined dimensions of the works that was allowable for the show. We wanted to make sure that we sort of created a sort of a structure within the gallery for our 3D pieces where things would be suspended as an added sort of flair to, you know, the pieces that was on the floor. And so we had an opportunity to do that with 2 of the pieces. And, you know, with the 3-dimensional pieces, the idea was to create a lane. And given that there was some things that are just a given with gallery installations in terms of making it accessible for everybody, wheelchair accessible, that became a consideration. The second consideration was, of course, presentation and formatting that would be, you know, conducive to creating a pleasant and sort of accessible lane throughout the show without obstructing the view of other pieces that was on the wall. So overall, it was a very challenging exhibition. Overall, it was an exhibition that I've been a part of for 11 years. And, you know, and it was, you know, I was inspired to do a good job. And Dwayne, I know, was inspired, and everyone that came in and helped with the installation. You know, without them, the show wouldn't be what it is, because we had dialogue happen between Dwayne and I constantly about what was what was, you know, appropriate for the subject matter, content, presentation of the show. So,
We can tell that you put a lot into it.
it was a lot. We
Thanks so
enjoyed
much.
it. It was great.